Welcome to this edition of This Week in Hearing, where listeners find the latest information on all things related to hearing care. The current developments in politics, legislation, innovative technology, pharmaceuticals, therapeutics, and the latest trends even in practice management. Today's edition is a component of innovative technology. A couple of weeks ago, a major product announcement was presented by ReSound, and the device name is the Jabra Enhance Plus, introduced as a possible early entry into the OTC market. So I'm Bob Traynor. I'm your host for this week, and my guest is Gitte Aabo, CEO and president of ReSound in Copenhagen, Denmark. We have had to coordinate this just a little bit, Gitte, with early morning for me and late afternoon for you and so on. So the first thing I think my group would like to hear is a little bit about yourself and where ReSound is focused at this particular time relative to all the changes that are happening in the industry.
So, my name is Gitte Aabo, and I joined as a CEO of GN Hearing almost 2 years ago. And that was after having spent 27 years in the pharmaceutical industry. So I was pleased to come in and join the hearing aid industry because I really enjoy being able to help people with hearing impairments. Now at GN, we are focusing in on bringing ReSound 1, our latest technology, out to as many people as possible now that markets are starting to open up. I mean, the US is far progressed, but also the rest of the world after the pandemic.
Okay. Well, I guess one of the first questions I would have, and I know my colleagues will here in the US as well, is what really is the Jabra Enhance Plus?
Well, it is the optimal combination, if you like, between an earbud and a hearing aid. So we have combined, our knowledge in GN Audio, which are producing headsets and true wireless earbuds, with the knowledge we have in GN Hearing around hearing aids into making a device that is really well designed for situational use. It's a hearing aid, is an earbud and can be really well for calls and music, and is looking like an earbud.
Okay. So how many people do you think this particular device will be appropriate for out in our marketplace? I mean, not only is it a worldwide marketplace, as I know all the big five are involved in the worldwide marketplace, but specifically to our patients and my colleagues that are dispensers and audiologists within the United States.
Well, I think that, one of the big conundrums in the hearing aid industry, and certainly what I noticed when I joined, is that despite great innovations from GN, but also from our competitors, there are still 70 to 80% of people with a hearing impairment that choose not to wear a hearing aid. So I think that is certainly one of the things we have been deep diving on in GN and looking into what are the reasons for that. And there are, with the mild to moderate hearing loss, there are approximately alone in the US 50 million people who has mild to moderate hearing loss. And out of those, 18 million that actually are aware and feel impaired by the hearing loss and yet choose not to wear hearing aids.
Well, that's been kind of one of the continuing issues that we've experienced as hearing care professionals for a substantial period of time. And one of the ways we hope to gather more of that market is by products like the Enhance Plus. And so one of the questions I know my colleagues will have is, since this is kind of a combination of a hearing aid with some other components, why was it brought out as a Jabra device and not necessarily as a GN brand or or one of the other peripheral brands that GN possesses?
So when we were developing this device, and maybe I should just take the opportunity to show it because I think it looks really nice. We actually did a significant part of consumer research to better understand what are the reasons why when you have a hearing loss and it actually annoys you and you still choose not to do anything about it. What are the reasons? A major reason is stigma associated with the hearing aids, and also this that when you buy a hearing aid, it's actually quite a big decision in the sense that you buy a device that you commit to wear every day for the rest of your life. So we wanted to bring something that was for situational use and a little bit more like a consumer device, if you like, and therefore we did the research testing ReSound brand and the Jabra brand. And among consumers, Jabra is much more well known than ReSound, and it's known for quality, technology engineered for purpose, which is also what we would like people to think about our hearing aids.
So what kind of differences does the Jabra Enhance Plus have relative to the high-end products that ReSound offers, as well as the low-end products and even the lower-end products and so on?
So again, I mean, Jabra Enhance Plus is a combination between an earbud and the hearing aid, and it is the optimal combination, but it's not the best earbud we make, and it's not the best hearing aid we make. So clearly it does not compare, for instance, to ReSound 1, which is obviously designed for full day use and can cover, from mild to more profound hearing loss. This is a device that you use in certain situations. For example, the dinner party where you are struggling to hear everybody around the table. So it is not as good as our hearing aids, but it is still a device that is relevant in certain situations.
So it's kind of one of those things that you stick in to go to the dinner party and then pull out on the way home, and then put in on the way down to the bar to talk to friends, and then pull it out on the way home, that kind of thing. So
exactly.
So now, are there differences in fitting this device relative to a typical hearing aid?
Yeah, again, when you go to get a typical hearing aid, obviously you get a very comprehensive support from the audiologist, both in doing your hearing test, but also fitting your hearing aid to really give you the best possible help. Now here, the fitting is a little bit more simplified. It actually is so that you download an app on your phone, and then you're basically doing the hearing test and also the fitting via the app. So again, it's not the best hearing aid, but it's good enough for these situations as you just talked to.
So it's kind of like a self-fit device almost, where the patient will put that on, and then they connect it to their phone, and then they tune it according to not only a cursory hearing test, but also other kinds of situations as well.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it.
So how should we, in clinics, how should we present Enhance Plus relative to all of the other products that we have available in our clinical situations?
Yeah, well, I think that many people that come into the clinic, they obviously come because they have a hearing impairment that they are or have become aware of, or maybe their loved one has become aware of. But we know, so I guess most of them will clearly need a hearing aid. We know, however, that on average, 1/3 of people going into the clinic, they leave without anything. They leave without committing to a hearing aid. And we believe that for that 1/3, this is really an attractive solution because it can kind of bring you on the first step of your hearing journey. So I think that's one obvious position of the product. I think also it can be an attention getter. Maybe if you're sitting at home searching for a hearing device, this looks like an earbud and therefore is less associated with stigma than a hearing aid is. So it might be, the thing that draws you into the clinic. And once you're there and get the advice from the audiologist, you may realize, well, what I really need is a full day hearing aid.
So now, price points on these products will be significantly less than than even a lower technology hearing aid that we would have available in the clinic.
Yes, we are not in a position yet to sort of give out the specific price, but it will be more affordable, which I think also might be one of the reasons why 1/3 on average leaves the clinic without a device. Maybe they are not yet ready to commit to the price tag associated with the hearing aid. So this also in that regard, it can be a first step on the journey.
Will the Enhance Plus be marketed through clinics, or will it be direct to consumer, or will it have some sort of a orientation, another kind of a marketing program that will go along with it? And I guess my question is it primarily set up so I could have it in my clinic, for example, and then there wouldn't be a lot of other places people could obtain the device?
So I think definitely initially it's a device that will be approved under FDA hearing aid regulation. And as such, it will be distributed through audiologists only. Whether that will change if regulations change, that's obviously a commercial decision we'll make if and when relevant. But for now, we will only distribute it through audiologists. And we also think this is important in order to ensure that we strike the balance between giving people more autonomy when they use the device, but still getting the relevant help from a professional, which I think is what we're trying to achieve here.
I know my colleagues will be very excited about that particular component, because we've all seen things change so much in the industry, just even prior to since the beginning of the pandemic. Lots of direct to consumer, lots of over the counter. We are seeing the drugstores in addition to the big box and all these other areas. So this could be a nice enhancement for practices as they expand their product offerings to meet more of the needs of the consumers. So let's see, what have you had some reactions from the hearing care professionals relative to the Enhance Plus product?
Yeah, when we announced the product, we had a virtual symposium with around 1,000 ETPs participating, and the feedback was really overwhelmingly positive. So I think everybody sort of acknowledged that there is a huge unmet need in this mild to moderate space where a lot of people choose not to do anything about their hearing impairment. And also, obviously, also from an audiologist's point of view, it's a waste of effort and time if you have people come into the clinic and go home without a device. So this is, so I think everybody kind of appreciated the needs, and also I think the feedback to the device as such is also really positive in that it has a really nice design. It's discreet and kind of meet that requirement as well. So really positive feedback.
Well, these days, and I remember the days 40 years ago when stigma was huge. People would not even think about amplification until they got to be 85, 90 years old. Nowadays, people have things hanging out of their ear and things all over the place. And you go to the airport, it's not uncommon to see everybody with strings and listening and doing things. So this type of a device could be of real benefit to our patients who have not chosen to be involved in amplification to facilitate their lifestyle. So I think this gives my colleagues a good idea of what the Jabra Enhance Plus will be. And I can't thank you quite enough here, Gitte, for, as the CEO and president of GN with all that responsibility, taking time with us today to talk with us here at This Week in Hearing. And if you have some final comments for my group, I'm more than happy to keep us going here for just a short period of time to do that. We try to keep these things short and sweet so that our colleagues don't have to take too much time away from their patients to listen to what happens in This Week in Hearing.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It is absolutely my pleasure. And I just think if we with this device can help even more people, that is what gets me up in the morning, that we are making a difference in people's lives. And I'm sure that when you decide to become an audiologist, it's also that thing that motivates you, really helping people. So let's help even more.
I'm always amazed at how short of a period of time it takes people from other sides of the of healthcare to come into our side of healthcare, and they immediately begin to appreciate the differences with hearing because of all the psychological overlay that goes along with it. And certainly, I'd like to again make sure and thank you for sure for your particular interest and time, energy, and effort that went into our discussion today. And please say hello to Copenhagen, one of my favorite worldwide cities. And the Tuborg Brewery there and the other places around the city were a favorite hangout. So today, I want to thank Gitte Aabo, CEO and President of GN ReSound from Copenhagen. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.